Will you please let me know when 4 minutes have expired, and then when 5 minutes have expired, and I'll allocate to the senator from South Carolina the last 2.5 minutes.
The chair will so notify.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm voting for Betsy DeVos because she will implement our law fixing No Child Left Behind the way we wrote it, to reverse the trend to a national school board and restore control to classroom teachers, to local school boards, to governors and legislators. Because she has been on the forefront of the most important public school reform in the last 30 years, public charter schools, and because she's worked tirelessly to give low-income children more of the same kind of choices that wealthy families have. 22 governors in this country support Betsy DeVos. I ask consent to put their names here, along with those of former Governor Jeb Bush, former Governor Mitt Romney, former Governor John Engler, and 452 organizations and elected officials who support Betsy DeVos for Education Secretary.
Without objection.
Was there not enough time to question her? I wonder, Mr. President. We treated her just like we did President Obama's education secretaries. She offered to meet with the Democrats in December. They refused. She finally met with them in their offices. Then she testified for 90 minutes longer than either of President Obama's education secretaries before our committees. Then follow-up questions. We asked President Obama's education secretaries 53 and 56 questions. They asked her 1,400 questions, and then they met and one of their members announced that they'd all agreed to vote against her before she had a chance to answer the questions. Now, what does that say about those questions? She has conflicts of interest. We have a procedure for that. An independent conflicts of interest office, the Office of Government Ethics. The president's the head's appointed by President Obama, confirmed by the Senate. He has an agreement with every cabinet member about conflicts of interest. He wrote a letter to us 8 days before we voted on her and said she would have no conflict of interest if she followed this agreement. So plenty of time for questions, no conflict of interest. What's the problem? One, her support for public charter schools. Some people don't like that, but 2.7 million children attend that. They were founded by the Democratic Farmer Labor Party in Minnesota. They've now grown to 6,800 schools. They're the most effective public school reform in 30 years. Or school choice. What's wrong with giving low-income Americans more choices of better schools? We've done it since the GI Bill from 1944. Taxpayer money following veteran students to Notre Dame, Yeshiva, Harvard, Nashville Auto Diesel College. Has it hurt the public universities, of which I used to be president of one? It's helped them. Then more people went to private schools. Now more people go to public colleges. And Betsy DeVos is committed no more Washington mandates, no more national school board, no Washington mandates for vouchers, no Washington mandates for Common Core, no Washington mandates for a specific kind of teacher evaluation with Betsy DeVos in charge of the Department of Education. 1 year ago, we had no education secretary. I asked President Obama to appoint one, even though I knew he would appoint John King, with whom I disagreed. I promised that if he did, we would promptly confirm him, and we did. We asked him 53 questions, not 1,397. We didn't say he had conflicts of interest when the Office of Government Ethics said he did not. I know my friends are surprised about the election, but wouldn't they be really surprised if he appointed someone from within the education establishment to be the Secretary of Education? Would you be surprised that a Republican president would be for charter schools? Are you really surprised that a Republican president has appointed an education secretary who wants to give low-income children more choices of schools? Are you surprised that the Republican president has appointed an education secretary, nominated one, I should say, who wants to reverse the trend to a national school board and restore local control? I'm supporting her because she wants to do that, because she's led the most effective—
Senator's used 4.5 minutes.
Thank you. She's led the most effective public school reform movement over the last 30 years and of her commitment to help low-income children. I would say to my Democratic colleagues, we confirmed President Obama's first education secretary in 7 days on the day he was inaugurated, his second one in 3 weeks, just as we will Betsy DeVos today. You may disagree with the new president, but the people elected him. And I urge you to give the new Republican president the opportunity to choose his own education secretary, just like we did the Democratic president 8 years ago and a year ago, even though we disagreed just as much with their view of federal policy on local schools as you do with her policy and President Trump's policy on school choice.
2.5
Mr.
minutes
President,
remaining.
I urge a yes vote.
Mr. President,
The senator from South Carolina.
thank you, Mr. President. As we close